Picture this, you're the new queen, but you're not really in charge. That's kind of Camilla's life right now. For generations, the royal family has passed the crown down in a certain way. Everyone watches to see what will happen next. Some people think Camilla is doing a great job helping the king and bringing attention to important causes that people usually ignore. But now, King Charles has made a big decision about her future that nobody saw coming. Was he just trying to protect the royal family? Was he following old traditions? Or was he getting ready for something new that nobody expected? The whole country is talking about it, and everyone has a different opinion. Every little piece of news makes people more confused about what's going to happen to the crown and to Camilla. What does this big decision really mean for the future of the royal family? So, do you believe Charles made the correct choice, or should Camilla have kept her same role? We want to know what you think, so leave a comment. And if you like this kind of content, please hit that like button and subscribe. The royal family is at a major turning point. There hasn't been this much quiet talk about the future of the monarchy in a very long time. Everyone is wondering about King Charles III and what he's planning for Queen Camilla. Even though the king hasn't made any big official announcement, the way he's been getting ready for the future has got people talking all over Britain. Royal experts, history buffs, and regular people are all asking the same question. Has Charles already made the decision that will determine how people remember Camilla? Just the fact that nobody knows for sure has turned this into one of the biggest royal stories in a while, and people all over the world are paying close attention. Charles has always known that being king means you have to think about two things at once. One is your job right now, and the other is making sure everything is okay for the future. Since he became king, he's talked a lot about keeping things stable and changing some parts of royal life to keep up with the times. He wants to make sure the monarchy is ready for the next generation. Now, people are watching him even more closely because everyone is talking about who will be king next and how things will keep going. Now, every time he goes out in public, does a royal job, or says something, people look at it as a clue about his bigger plans. Right in the middle of all this interest is Queen Camilla. The way people have come to accept her is one of the most surprising stories in recent royal history. For a long time, people were very critical of her, but over the years, they've started to see how much she supports Charles and the hard work she does for charity. But even with that, there are still a lot of questions about her official role in the future that just won't go away. Unlike a real king or queen who rules on their own, the queen consort's job is tied to the king's. Her whole position depends on him being king. This is why royal experts talk about it so much. If Charles is secretly getting the monarchy ready for what's ahead, where does Camilla fit into those plans? Could he leave behind some kind of guide to protect her role later on? Or will the old traditions of the royal family just take over, no matter what he wants? These aren't easy questions to answer, but they keep showing up in the news, on TV, and all over the internet. People have really strong opinions about this, and they're all over the map. Some folks are sure that Charles will do everything he can to make sure people keep respecting Camilla even after he's gone. Others say that tradition is more important than what any one person wants, and that there's not much room for personal choices once a new king or queen takes over. Nobody knows for sure which side is right, but it just goes to show how much people care about where the monarchy is heading. But this is about more than just one royal marriage. This whole argument is really about how the whole institution is going to change during one of the biggest periods of change we've seen in decades. Whatever Charles is planning, a lot of people believe his choices today will affect not just Camilla's future, but also how the public sees the entire royal family. For now, the king is keeping his plans secret, so everyone in Britain is watching closely as every new piece of news adds another twist to this royal mystery. Old royal rules might have the key to what happens next, but there are still secrets to uncover. What hidden things could change Camilla's fate when the crown is passed on? Could surprising choices go against what everyone thinks will happen to her? And will the next secret revealed be something nobody saw coming? Don't go anywhere. As more questions come up about King Charles III's future plans, people are naturally starting to wonder about something that even big royal fans find confusing. What will actually happen to Queen Camilla when the current king's reign is over? The answer is much more complicated than what you read in the news. Even though there's a lot of guessing going on, the British monarchy follows old constitutional rules that no single king or queen can just change because they feel like it. One of the biggest things people get wrong is what her title really means. Camilla is queen because she's married to the king, which makes her the queen consort, not a queen who rules on her own. Those two roles are completely different. A queen regnant is someone who inherits the throne and rules the country, like Queen Elizabeth II did. A queen consort, on the other hand, is there to support the king, but she doesn't have any real political power. Her position only exists as long as her husband is the king, and it doesn't continue after he's gone. This is a very important detail as people talk more seriously about the future. Even though King Charles really values Camilla's help and has said so publicly, he doesn't have the power to change the rules of succession or permanently decide what her role will be after he's no longer king. The monarchy follows laws and traditions that have been built up over hundreds of years. These rules are there to make sure everything stays stable, no matter who the king or queen is or what their family wants. This comes as a surprise to many people. Some assume that Charles could just guarantee that Camilla stays just as important forever, or that he could make up a whole new system to protect her current job. But experts on the Constitution always point out that the monarchy works on well established laws, not just what one person decides. Even though the king's personal feelings might affect his private plans, they can't replace the official rules when the crown goes to the next ruler. When that change happens, it will naturally create a different royal structure under Prince William. As the new king, William would be the center of attention, and Catherine would become the new queen consort. Camilla's public duties, how much people see her, and her official position would all change as the focus moves to the younger generation. This doesn't mean she would be rejected or punished. It's just how the monarchy has always worked throughout history. Even with these facts, people are still confused and arguing about it. Some believe Charles might have quietly expressed what he hopes will happen to Camilla after he's gone, wanting to protect her honor and thank her for all her years of service. Others say that even if he has these wishes, they don't have the power of law and can't override centuries of royal tradition. Since no one has confirmed either story, there's plenty of room for more debate. At the end of the day, this whole discussion is about something much bigger than just one person's future. It shows the difficult balance between personal loyalty and official duty that has shaped the monarchy for a very long time. As the public gets more and more curious, understanding these old rules is really important because the answers will decide not only Camilla's fate, but also how King Charles's own time as king is remembered. As William gets closer to being king, there's a quiet change happening inside the monarchy. Could his vision change the way power is balanced in the royal family? Will Catherine's growing influence change everything behind the scenes? And what unexpected change is waiting for Camilla as this new era quietly begins? Let's find out. William is getting ready for the biggest responsibility of his life. While everyone is focused on King Charles's future plans, the fact that Prince William will eventually be king gets closer every single day. You can't talk about Camilla's future without talking about when William takes the throne. This isn't about anyone's personal feelings or family arguments. It's just how the British Constitution works. Every new king or queen brings new responsibilities, different priorities, and a whole new center of power. Prince William has been getting ready for this role his whole life. Ever since he was a child, his life has been about duty, tradition, and learning from the kings and queens who came before him. During his father's reign, William has been taking on more and more important jobs, representing the royal family in the UK and in other countries. He's not trying to be ambitious, he's just been preparing carefully. This shows that the institution is getting ready for its next chapter, whenever that day comes. Right by his side is Catherine, the Princess of Wales. Her role has also grown bigger over the years as she's done more public service. People really respect her calm way of doing things and her dedication to charity. When William becomes king, Catherine is expected to become the queen consort. This change would naturally shift the public's focus to William and Catherine, while other senior royals would take on different roles within the family. For Queen Camilla, this wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing or a loss. It's just how royal succession has always worked. Her role has always been connected to King Charles's reign. Once a new king or queen takes over, the whole structure of the monarchy changes. Things like public events, ceremonial duties, where people live, and their household staff often change during every royal transition. This isn't because of personal choices, but because tradition requires things to be organized under each new monarch. Even with this reality, people still speculate about it a lot. Some think William might change how visible senior royals are, choosing to have a smaller group of working royals focus on public duties. Others say that experience and continuity are still very valuable, so it would make sense for Camilla to keep supporting some charity work while stepping back from the main role she has now. Since nobody has officially confirmed anything, there's still room for debate. Royal historians often point out that every time a new monarch takes over, it quietly changes who has influence inside the institution. Relationships are still important, but constitutional duty always comes first. When one reign ends and another begins, everyone's attention naturally goes to the new sovereign and what they want for the future of the crown. This has happened many times throughout British history, no matter who was involved. For many people, this is why King Charles's reported long-term planning is so important. His choices today might not decide every detail of Camilla's future, but they could affect how smoothly the monarchy moves into William's reign. So, the questions about succession are about more than just one family member. They tell a bigger story about continuity, legacy, and the careful passing of royal responsibility that has defined the crown for centuries. The whole country is watching every step with more and more anticipation. Behind the palace walls, a future is being planned very carefully. Could Charles's quiet preparations reveal a surprising change ahead? Is Camilla's role changing in ways nobody expected? And what secret decision is waiting to come out next before the world sees it? Keep watching with us. Behind all the fancy ceremonies and carefully planned public appearances, there's another story that's been slowly developing. It doesn't get as much attention, but it might be even more important. As King Charles III keeps leading the monarchy, more and more people are paying attention to the quiet planning that's supposedly going on behind palace doors. Instead of big announcements or sudden changes to the constitution, royal experts think the king is mostly focused on making sure things stay stable and that the institution he inherited has a smooth transition. If that's true, then his most important decisions might never be announced from a palace balcony. Instead, they'd be shown in careful planning that happens over a long period of time. Long before he became king, Charles talked about having a smaller, more focused monarchy. He always said it was important to change the institution to meet what the public expects, while still keeping its historic roots. Since he became king, people have noticed that he's kept this same overall vision. Public duties are now mostly done by a smaller group of senior working royals. This supports the idea that the monarchy's future depends on being clear, efficient, and keeping the public's trust, rather than just being big. Within this bigger plan, Queen Camilla has an important but very specific role. During Charles's reign, she has kept supporting causes like literacy, domestic violence awareness, and osteoporosis research, along with other charities. Her work has generally been steady and not controversial, which has let her public role grow slowly after years of intense criticism. Many commentators think Charles wants her charity work to be one of the lasting things she's remembered for, no matter how the monarchy changes in the future. Besides public events, experienced royal observers often talk about the practical duties every monarch has to think about. Things like managing the royal households, the estates that belong to the crown, keeping staff for the long term, and passing on responsibilities in an orderly way all need careful planning long before any transition happens. Even though most of this work is private, it's a really important part of keeping the Constitution stable. These are normal preparations, not something out of the ordinary, but they often end up shaping history more than big, public events do. This has made people look at Charles's reported long-term thinking in a new way. Some think he has quietly been considering how Camilla can keep being respected, while also accepting that the official reality of the future will naturally change her public position. Others believe his main concern has always been protecting the institution itself, even if that means letting tradition decide things that are beyond his personal control. Since no one has confirmed either side, there's room for thoughtful discussion instead of clear answers. Whatever private conversations might have happened, there's one idea that shows up again and again in Charles's public life. He has always presented the monarchy as an institution that has to last beyond any one person's reign. This way of thinking suggests that planning for tomorrow is just as important as governing today. The growing attention on his reported final decisions might therefore show us something deeper than just questions about one royal's future. It might show a king who is determined to leave behind a stronger, more stable monarchy, even if many of his preparations stay hidden until history finally shows their true importance. Charles's choices show a deep struggle between duty and personal feelings. Did his biggest sacrifice change the monarchy forever? Could one final decision change how history remembers him? And what unexpected truth is about to come out of this royal turning point? Don't go anywhere. Doing your duty has always been more important than personal feelings. As people keep talking about King Charles III's reported long-term decisions, one question is more important than all the others. What has been the guiding principle for him during the most important moments of his reign? For many royal historians, the answer has stayed the same. Throughout his decades of public life, Charles has shown that no matter what his personal relationships or private feelings are, the monarchy has to come first. This belief has shaped not only what he does as king, but also the tough choices that keep people debating Camilla's future. This way of thinking didn't just appear overnight. Charles spent more than 70 years getting ready to be king. He watched Queen Elizabeth II dedicate her whole life to duty, putting it above her own personal preferences. Her reign set a powerful example of constitutional leadership, where personal wishes were often put aside to protect the public's trust in the crown. Those lessons made a big impact on him and influenced how he sees his own responsibilities during a time of big change for the royal family. Since becoming king, Charles has often talked about service being more important than status. In his speeches, he always highlights continuity, responsibility, and how important it is to protect an institution that's much bigger than one generation. These themes have become even more meaningful as talks about succession, public trust, and the future of the monarchy have gotten more intense. Now, every decision he makes is more significant because it affects not just the present, but also how stable future reigns will be. This huge responsibility naturally creates personal challenges. Queen Camilla has been by Charles's side through many important moments, supporting his public duties and building her own record of charity work. Their marriage is a very personal part of his life. But being a constitutional leader means that personal loyalty and official responsibility have to be kept separate when necessary. Balancing these two things is rarely easy, especially when what the public expects keeps changing along with royal tradition. This tension has led to different ideas about what Charles is planning. Some observers believe he is determined to make sure Camilla gets lasting respect, while also carefully protecting the constitutional rules that define the monarchy. Others think his main concern has always been keeping the public's confidence, even if that means accepting limits on what his personal wishes can achieve. Neither side has been officially confirmed, but both show the difficult balance that every constitutional monarch has to maintain. History gives us many reminders that how popular someone is can change quickly, but a legacy is judged over generations. Charles seems to know that today's headlines will eventually become tomorrow's history lessons. Decisions that seem controversial right now might later be seen as necessary actions to protect the institution over time. That's why many experts think he's focused on the monarchy's long-term stability instead of just getting public approval right now. As these questions keep getting a lot of attention, one thing is becoming clear. The discussion is no longer just about Charles or Camilla as individuals. Instead, it's about the ongoing challenge that every king or queen faces: how to balance personal happiness with constitutional duty. Whether history eventually praises or questions the king's choices, his legacy will probably be measured by one main standard: whether he protected the crown for the people who will inherit it next. Camilla's journey might be entering a chapter that nobody can predict. Will she quietly create a new place for herself in history? Or will hidden tensions change her royal relationships? Could her next move show a legacy that's very different from what people expect? What truth is waiting beyond the news headlines? Camilla is facing an uncertain future. As everyone starts looking more and more at what's next for the British monarchy, another question keeps growing. What kind of life will Queen Camilla have when King Charles III's reign eventually ends? There's no official guidebook for this, but the way things have happened in the past gives us some important clues. Instead of sudden dramatic endings or disappearing from public life, history shows that these transitions usually involve gradual change, carefully managed duties, and a changing role within the royal family. Still, Camilla's unique story means her future will always be something people are really interested in. During Charles's reign, Camilla has been building a public identity based on charity work, not political power. She's been a strong supporter of literacy programs, domestic violence awareness, osteoporosis research, and many other causes. These long-standing commitments could continue in some form, even if her official position changes when a new monarch takes over. Many older senior royals have stayed active in certain causes after stepping back from the main spotlight, letting their experience stay useful without being the center of attention. At the same time, her public profile would almost certainly become more limited. When Prince William becomes king and Catherine becomes the queen consort, the whole country's attention would naturally shift to the new king and queen. Public events, international trips, and major ceremonies would focus more on the next generation, following the same pattern we've seen throughout British royal history. This kind of change wouldn't mean that Camilla's work wasn't important, it would just be the normal evolution of the monarchy during a change of reign. There are also questions about where Camilla might spend most of her time. While official arrangements would depend on what's happening at that time, royal commentators have often noted that she has a personal connection to Ray Millhouse, a private home she had before she married Charles. Whether she splits her time between private life and some royal duties, or makes other plans, her future home would probably mean a quieter public role than the one she is now. Another important factor is her relationship with Prince William and Catherine. In public, they have continued to do official duties together when needed, showing a united front for the crown. This is the moment when he really takes on the full weight of his office, the weight of that crown. But beyond what we see in public, the royal family usually keeps personal relationships private. So, a lot of what people assume about future relationships is just that, assumptions. Some observers expect a respectful working relationship based on duty, while others think constitutional responsibilities will naturally create clear boundaries. Neither view has been officially confirmed. How history eventually remembers Camilla might depend less on her titles and more on the work she leaves behind. Her transformation from a controversial figure into a recognized working royal is already a remarkable story in modern royal history. But the final judgment on her legacy is still being written. As Charles's reported long-term planning continues to get attention, the future waiting for Camilla is another reminder that every royal transition changes not only individual lives, but also the institution they've spent years serving. History might remember Charles's choice in ways nobody expects, but the final chapter is still being written. Did he really secure Camilla's legacy, or did he create a mystery that future historians will argue about? And what hidden effects will there be for the monarchy as William's era gets closer in the shadows? Stay tuned. The future of the crown is being judged. King Charles III's future decisions are still getting a lot of attention around the world, and one question is at the center of the royal conversation. How will history judge the choices he makes about Queen Camilla and the monarchy itself? The answer might not come from one big announcement, a palace event, or a dramatic public moment. Instead, it might be revealed slowly through the lasting effect of the decisions he makes during his entire reign. Charles inherited a centuries old institution at a time when the monarchy was facing some of its biggest modern challenges. What the public expects has changed. Younger generations have different views on tradition, and the role of the crown is constantly being questioned in our changing society. His challenge has been to find the delicate balance between protecting the traditions that have kept the monarchy alive for centuries and adapting to what the modern world demands. Throughout his reign, King Charles has always emphasized service, stability, and continuity as the essential foundations for the crown to survive. His approach to Queen Camilla's position in the monarchy is part of a much bigger discussion about how personal relationships, public responsibility, and constitutional duties can all exist together. Camilla's journey from one of the most debated people connected to the royal family to a respected working member of the institution is still one of the most closely watched stories in recent royal history. For many people, how Charles has handled Camilla's role might become one of the most important parts of his legacy. Her supporters say she has shown commitment, strength, and dedication through her charity work and public appearances. They believe her steady presence next to Charles has helped make the monarchy look stronger during an uncertain time. However, critics still look at her past controversies and wonder how those moments affected the public's attitude toward the crown. These different opinions show why Camilla's place in history is so complicated. Her legacy might ultimately depend not only on how people see her today, but also on how future generations understand what she contributed during Charles's reign. Beyond Camilla's future, many people think Charles's biggest responsibility might be preparing the monarchy for the next chapter under Prince William. The change between generations will be about much more than just a new title. It will bring a different leadership style, new priorities, and a new relationship between the royal family and the public. Charles's decisions could decide if William inherits a monarchy that feels ready for the future or one that's still dealing with problems that haven't been solved. By focusing on stability and continuity, Charles might be trying to create a foundation that lets the next generation guide the institution through a changing era. Future of the crown, however, will never depend on just one person. Every king or queen inherits the decisions made by those before them and leaves behind choices that affect those who come after. Charles's approach to succession, responsibility, and modernization might end up being some of the defining elements of his reign, even if their full importance isn't understood right away. When historians look back at this time, they might not just focus on royal ceremonies, speeches, or public appearances. Instead, they might look at whether Charles successfully protected the monarchy during a critical time of change. They might ask if he made the institution stronger, secured Camilla's place in its history, and created the right conditions for William's future reign. In the end, the debate about Camilla's royal future is really a much bigger story about leadership, sacrifice, and legacy. The monarchy has always survived by adapting to new realities, and every king or queen has to face the difficult challenge of balancing personal decisions with what the nation expects. Charles's final choices might become more than just simple royal decisions. They might become the defining moments that determine how one king guided an ancient institution into an uncertain future. Only time will tell if his choices really strengthen the crown or if they expose the challenges that are still ahead. The final judgment of history might depend on what happens next. So, what do you think? Was Charles's decision the right one for Camilla's royal future, or should tradition have taken a different path? We'd really like to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.